are back. We're going to talk to and about one of the most hospitable countries in the world. And I'm not just flattering our guest because the Counting Countries popular podcast series always asks, who are the most hospitable people in the world? And we hear about Persians, we hear about the country of Iran, and we're going to hear about that and so much more from Mansoureh. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you said you're in.
I am glad to hear that as an Iranian, of course.
Well, maybe that is a question because I so often hear people say, "No, I'm Persian." So when should those of us say Persian, and when should we say Iranian?
I mean, to me, both are the same. Persian mostly is the ethnic group because Iranian is a nationality. But some people, they prefer to say Persian, but I don't know. I mean, for me, both are the same. I am Persian. I don't have any other ethnic group. I'm Iranian Persian. But yeah, Iran has like different ethnic group like Turks, Iranian Turks, Kurds, Baluch, and others, and also Arab. And yeah, but also because maybe Iran is a new name. Persia was older name. Some people refer it to that one.
Yes, and that was my experience of visiting the country. Of people were very, very clear to say Persian. I visited a decade ago on about a 10-day trip. I'm a U.S. citizen. It took months to get my visa from the Pakistan embassy in Washington, D.C., and it was this amazing process of their fax machine doesn't work, and then they change their numbers, so the foreign ministry in the branch office in Shiraz was faxing to the wrong number, and it went on and on. But I finally got my visa a day before my flight departed, and it arrived in FedEx, and I was off on the trip and had a fantastic time. And
okay, you had the whole experience.
Yeah, it was. Well, yeah, I mean, because I don't know, is it all arrivals, but for Americans, it's
a bit different. Yeah,
they fingerprinted every one of my fingers one by one.
Wow.
At arrival, and I joked with them. I said, "What if I'm missing a finger? What do you do?" And,
I mean, I don't know if it helps because I think Iran put this law when other countries they put that. Like for example, if I go to, I mean, I'm a citizen of I'm a resident in the UK, and when I travel to the UK, I also they get all of my fingerprints.
That's good. I think it was.
That's why they do it the same. Like for the country, they don't do it. Probably they don't do it.
Yeah, and I think they had just started, so it wasn't digital, so it was the ink, one by one by one.
Wow.
I'm sure this was a decade ago, so it was. But usually if you make a joke like that to an immigration officer anywhere in the world, they won't laugh because they try to be very serious. But this guy laughed, and he said, "Welcome to Iran." So I knew I was going to have a fabulous. But actually, before we talk about the country itself, the food and cuisine, I think there's so many restaurants around the world that will say they're Persian food, and it's nothing at all like the dishes that I've enjoyed.
I know. Tell me about that.
It's just like some generic pan Arab kebab style dish or something. And so my general rule has been to look. One of my favorite dishes is dizzy. So which is like the stew with the mortar and pestle. And if I can find that on the menu, I feel like that restaurant might be worth seeking out, whether it's Southern California where there's such a big emigre population. But tell us your rule. How do we find authentic Persian food in major cities around the world? Where should we look? Where should we hope to find some?
To be honest, this is the really hard question because this is like even in London. I mean, I never been to the US. I have no idea about US where you can find, but I've heard Angeles, and there are some Iranian restaurants, but I don't know. But about London, I can say that there are lots of Iranian restaurants, but usually they serve just kebab and not proper Iranian dishes or dizzy or other dishes. Yeah, it's so hard. But in London also you can find a few if you see they have a stew, but not all of them they are great. And it's not just about how you make them. The ingredients, like some of them you just find it in Iran. Like the rice, I am sure that you had rice in Iran. The taste of the Iranian rice is so different from basmati or other rice. And even if you cook it the way Iranian cook, it doesn't taste the same. I recommend you to go to Iran. You will have the best food.
If we're in a pinch, do you have a few restaurant picks in London that you can speak to?
Yeah, there are some, like actually one of the restaurant, the owner is Afghan and they serve some Iranian dishes, and this good is ram. And is another one is in the north of London is Tandis. If you go there, don't order kebab at all. These two are great. And if you want kebab, I would say Piano is in the west of London.
And as I said, I'm from the U.S. and growing up with the media environment we have, I somehow thought going to Iran that it would be such a closed country, and I realize it's very much not a closed country. There's these emigre populations. I mean, I was on KLM, the flight, and it was the Audrey Hepburn plane, and just so many delightful people talking to, even on the flight before I arrived. So you've got these incredibly cosmopolitan, educated people that you're encountering, and I'm curious, those overseas communities you're seeing, which are some of the funnest? Again, not everybody, different visa, political reasons, is able to visit the country, but you mentioned London as a highlight. Where are some that you can get flavors of the culture without visiting the country itself?
I mean, it's so hard to get it because I am sure that you met a lot of Iranian out of Iran, but if the culture gets it's a bit different. When you go to Iran, people, they are more friendly, they are more open. Then I think as an Iranian that live abroad, I think we get closer to Western culture. We are getting more close, but in Iran, people, they are more open to talk to you. I mean, if you get to the taxi to any, it's not because you are just foreigner. Even me as an Iranian, I used to travel by taxi, and taxi driver started talking to me about anything. People, they are talking to each other and they're so open. Yeah, and I would say US and Canada, there are a lot of immigrant Iranian, and also London. London also, there are a lot of Iranian Persian community that they live. In Europe, I would say London, and in North America, California, Los Angeles, and Canada in general, Ottawa, I think there are a lot of Iranian that live there. And yeah, if you want to enjoy and learn about the culture, just go when is a Persian New Year. There are a lot of parties, especially out of Iran. And it's Nowruz. It's called Nowruz. It's not just for Iranian, Afghan, Tajiks, and many other countries. They celebrate Nowruz.
And for those that are totally unfamiliar with the holiday, when should they look for it? What should they look to participate in?
Okay, Nowruz is my favorite holiday, and Nowruz is kind of really unique, and it goes back to 2,000 years ago, and it's the first day of spring. Like for us Iranian, the first day of spring is first day of the new year. And because we say winter everything dies, and in spring everything again become alive, and that's why it's a new year. And there's a philosophy behind that, and it's because when everything start to grow again, like the plants and other flowers, and is the hope grows, and that's why it's a new year and we celebrate it.
Fantastic. And let's head into the country itself now. one way that's been accessible to some visitors, and I'm just curious, from an Iranian perspective, Kish Island. I've not been. It's been a place where some tourists unable to get visas otherwise have been able to visit. Have you been?
I've been to Kish Island 2-3 times or more. Yeah, I've been many times there, but I've been like many years ago. Yeah.
So for those again that it's been.
Oh my God, it's beautiful.
That's what it is. Sorry, I mean that's the question. I was just wondering: is it, the travelers have often gone there because they haven't gotten a visa to visit any other part of the country, but is it? It sounds like it's a destination of its own right that should be visited, even if you do have that visa.
Yes, I mean, even if you have visa, I recommend to go to Kish or Kesh. They are both islands and they are both beautiful in their own way. Like you've been like if people there, I think people there are familiar with Dubai. Like Kish Island is smaller than Dubai, but I would say it's more beautiful because the water is more clear, and also you can go diving and you can see dolphins, and it's not as crowded as Dubai, and you don't find a lot of artificial like island or buildings or other things. You find natural beaches a lot, and that's why it's more beautiful, and it's more luxury than Pesh. Pesh is more you find the local people in Kesh, but Kish also there are a lot of you don't find a lot of locals from Kish. They are from other part of Iran. They immigrated in Kish and they live there. But in Kesh, you will have different experience if you go there. Also, you will see a lot of dolphins, and you will see a forest that you can see during the day. During the night, it goes underwater. It's just so unique place.
Oh.
I've been in both and I love them.
Oh, fantastic!
I mean, if you can do diving or snorkeling, you can see a lot of different species.
And that's key for me. You said the oar snorkeling, and some destinations are great for diving, which I don't currently do, but I do love snorkeling. And
yeah, you see turtle. I think if you go snorkeling, you see turtle and yeah, some colorful fishes.
Oh, that's fantastic. So let's talk about the country broadly, and this is a very well-traveled group. So we'll talk about everything but the most famous. So many tourists know about Tehran, Persepolis, Esfahan, Shiraz. It's a very large, very diverse country. Tell us a bit about your background, where you're from, and where are some of the trips you've taken as a child and as an adult around the country. Again, we're not going to talk about the most famous.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm from Tehran. This is the most famous city in Iran. I'm from Tehran, but I travel around the country, and I'm a journalist. I've been journalist when I was in Iran, and also this gave me some like unique opportunity to travel to some unique places, even like some Iranians they don't go. Like for example, one of the best places I've been in Iran and I loved it is Sistan Baluchistan. Sistan Baluchistan is a province in the east southeast of Iran, and it has border with Afghanistan, Pakistan, and in some parts that nowadays is safer, but when I went it wasn't safe. But I went there and it was like amazing because one of the oldest city in the world is there and is hidden, and they gave us access and we went there with escorted. We were escorted and it was amazing, like 7,000-year-old city, and it called Bern City. And there are a lot of unique.
So is that one that you would need special permits to visit?
I think nowadays you can visit it, but when we went, as I safe, and like it wasn't safe because still they didn't have a proper border with Afghanistan, and there was some conflict between the smuggler and something. But now I think you can visit it, but you need a tour guide. I think, yeah. But it's a less visited part of Iran, and is amazing. Like that place is so wonderful to go. You see a desert, and they have something like they call it. I forgot even in Persian the name. The wind. They call it. The wind can go like so fast, like 100 kilometers per hour. And we were. I mean, I said I was lucky to see that because it was something unique. But for locals, it's some disaster. But it was like something I never seen before. And you see the and like sands, they're flying so fast. And they teach you how to protect yourself because it's so painful. And yeah, it was something unique. And I would like to go there. And if someone goes there, there are a lot of things you can see in that part, because Kish and Qesh we talked about, they are in Persian Gulf, but that part is in Oman Sea, and that's why the water is clear and is more beautiful.
Fantastic. And one thing I was just thinking when you mentioned Baluchistan, I met some soldiers in my trip that were from just in a park in I think that was in Esfahan, and they were just having tea by some of the bridges, and it invited me and got to chat a bit with them. And that's a region that's captivated the imagination of many of us in our group. And one thing that because I have these ideas of Persepolis and the heat and that, and people I met in Tehran especially kept talking about the mountains to the north and skiing in winter. And I was so ignorant, I didn't even really think that there would be a skiing culture. I was there that year in February, so that I did not have a chance to visit the north, but heard a lot about it.
You can ski in Tehran. You don't need to go to the north. Like even in some mountains in Tehran, you don't have to travel. You can just. Tehran is amazing. I know I'm not supposed to talk about famous city, but Tehran is amazing because on the north you have the mountain, and you can just go to mountain. You can ski during the winter, or you can go mountaining. But just 1 hour driving, you can be in desert, like in home desert. Yeah, that's why it's an amazing city. But most tourists, they just avoid visiting Tehran. But I would recommend to go and see Tehran because it has unique culture. It's different.
I didn't realize tourists avoided it. So I'm a student of history. I was fascinated by so much in Tehran, and in particular, I lived in China for a decade that had a very tumultuous social revolution period, and a lot of history was lost. And it interested me in Tehran that palaces from the past century and different things were so well preserved, and school groups were visiting them and learning the history, and that they weren't destroyed or removed in the way, to my eyes, that had happened so tragically in China.
But Tehran, compared to Shiraz and Isfahan, is new compared to that.
Oh yeah.
It's not like 1,000 years.
Oh yeah, I mean, certainly the modern history, the modern palaces, and that.
Yeah, it's like 700 years old or some 100 years old, but you don't find something like 7,000 years old. Yeah, but if someone like nature, like the mountains in Tehran are amazing. You can go mountain climbing or other things. Yeah.
Fantastic. And we've got a question from the audience from our most loyal program viewer in 1974, Overland, and all of these areas. He's wondering the Tire district of Tehran. He said this is where the backpacker hostels were in the 1970s. You're quite young. Are you familiar with this area at all? Is it he spent weeks at the Amir Kabir and is wondering if that area and that hostel is still functioning.
Oh God. Because if you are talking about that time, because after the revolution, like even after the war between Iran and Iraq, many names of the area and street in Tehran, in the country in general, changed. Like for example, my father say the name of the street in is different from me because they are used to in the name before the revolution, but for example for us it's not familiar. That's why Amir Kabir, I can't remember the name of the Amir Kabir. Where was it? Sorry, I can't really help with that.
No, that's fine, but it's interesting that reference point of history, and that hinted it was very interesting in my visit to meet people, because society had such a drastic change, that meeting a family and hearing the parents versus the 20-year-old children, they had such different experiences.
Yes, totally. Like for example, the funny thing is, like my parents, they didn't need visa to travel to Europe, but for us, like traveling, like now, Iranian passport is one of the worst passports. You need visa to travel to every single country. It's just like, yeah, we have different experience.
Yeah, I remember it's similar to that point, meeting a mother and daughter at a restaurant. It turned out the daughter was studying museum studies at the same university by distance in the U.S. that I went to. So we connected with that family, and the mother had said the same thing. For her honeymoon, it was Iran Air Flight 001 to New York, and and that's, I mean, just such a drastically different area. We've got a comment from YouTube, Mike, from Miami, and we talked about the diving. He was curious about the beaches of Kish, the beach scene.
There are some public beaches, like you go and there are people, but Kish is kind of like the some part of Kish is like so touristy and everyone goes there, but the rest of the Kish is kind of empty. Like the beaches are amazing if you go to the part that is empty, but you need to take a taxi. Like I remember when we wanted to go, we told the taxi driver. He dropped us there, and he just said that at 4 p.m. I come and pick you up, because there is literally no one, no car, nothing, and you have the whole beach for yourself for whole day, and the taxi driver comes and pick you up. And yeah, if you want to go, just do that. Or some people rent a car. I mean, I don't recommend, if you never drove in Iran, don't rent a car in Iran in general. Driving is something different.
Yeah, it's free flowing, I might say.
Yes. I'm not sure after like 8 years not driving in Iran, I can drive again or not. But I was a good driver in Iran.
That's fantastic. And how about for those that are interested in religious history? And so we'll say that they may not be of any one particular religion. So this would be sites that are open to all. And for instance, in my visit, I requested, since we were going on the road to visit Qum, which the guides they raised their eyebrow and said, it's not our usual request, but okay, fine, we go visit. So.
Like, how can I say about religions? Right now, everyone knows like Islam is the main religion in Iran. But like some people, they are shocked when I say, "Oh yeah, my friend is Jewish and is Iranian." I'm like, we have Jewish, we have Christian, we have Zoroastrian, because the Zoroastrian is just originally they're from Iran, and we are still have them, and we were all Zoroastrian, but like in 700 years ago, some Arabs, they attacked Persia at that time, and they forced us to convert to Islam. And after that, most of the people, they are Muslim in the country. And right now, most of the people, they are Muslim, but that it's like they are not very conservative. Like we have some religious city like Qom is different, or even Yaz, they're religious. But for example, the city of Shiraz, Tehran, people are not very religious. Like they believe in God, and they believe in they believe in Prophet Muhammad, and most of Iranians are Shia, and they believe on the imams. But it's not, they are not very religious, and they are kind of open-minded, especially new generation. And yeah, that's it. And but the problem, like many people, they think Iranians, they are so conservative because after the revolution, the government is the Islamic government, and they are ruling based on religion, and that's why people, they are forced to pretend they are religion and are religious in the public. Like they have, like for example, female, they have to wear a scarf, and they have to cover their hair and this kind of thing.
Ah, excellent. And Mike in the comments is asking a follow-up about Armenian churches to visit. And I remember visiting a beautiful one in Shiraz, I believe. But
the Armenian churches, like the Orthodox and Christian. Most of the Christian in Iran, they are Orthodox, but we have also Catholic. I think in Tehran we have just one or two Catholic churches. The most of the churches are Armenian Orthodox churches.
Yeah, and I believe Esfahan also has a number that are.
Yes, Esfahan, yes, like has a lot of churches.
Yeah, and as I recall, just beautifully presented, and sites of different religions. You had school children going and learning. It was very inspiring to see such interaction.
Yeah, it's kind of we are a bit like it's really sad because we grow up not together. Like the Christian, they go to different schools. We go to, like, I am Muslim. Like we go to our school, and like for example, because like they have event like for their party and everything, they have different venues. And Muslim, they are not allowed to go there because they are allowed to drink alcohol. They are allowed to eat pork. That's why we as a Muslim, we are not allowed to go to their venue, which is and like for example, but in university we are all together, and like we make friends in university. I had Christian friend, but I couldn't go to her wedding because it was in Christian venue, and I couldn't. She really wanted me to go, but she was like so sorry that we couldn't go because legally it's an issue, and just we could go to church and celebrate it in church, and after that, the reception, we were not allowed. It's kind of sad, yeah.
But they
can come to our wedding. That's fine.
Talk about weddings in Iran, then. I'm sure they're quite, regardless of religion, I'm sure they're quite the experience.
Oh yeah, yeah. Like when you're talking about wedding in Iran, like when you say, "Oh, it's a small wedding, 400 people," it's not like a small wedding in Western country. Yeah, you can go to 3,000 or more.
Fantastic. And I wanted to stay roughly in the region. Your YouTube channel, which I'm sharing in the notes, you've got some incredible videos about travel in Pakistan and Kailash and walking to the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. Some incredible deep trips, Swat Valley. I mean, so many to pick from. I encourage everyone to look at all the videos. I feel like there's increasing interest of travel to Pakistan. There's travelers like me that had a relatively short trip and wish we had booked much more time.
Yes, about Pakistan. Yeah. What was your question about?
You've got these videos of Swat Valley, of Kailash, of the walking the border. I don't even know what to pick, but what are just some of the remote highlights of all these travels you've taken?
Yeah, I always I like to go to unique places in general. I like to explore like unique places. Like for example, if I go to Paris, okay, it doesn't really like excite me. Uh, but for Pakistan, I was searching to go to Pakistan, but then I came to cross to about Kalash Valley and Kalash
Mm-hmm.
people, because Kalash
Mm-hmm.
people, they are different. It's like Zoroastrian in Iran, and they have different religion. They are not Muslim, and they are different, and they live in a remote area. And I was so interested to go there, and to that's why like when we went to Islamabad, and they have festivals around the year 4 times, and one of them is in August, and I picked that one to go there and to be there and celebrate with them. I made a short documentary about the celebration and the Kalash Valley, and my purpose was to go and to be with them and make a documentary. And the whole trip turned really like special, and everything was unique in Pakistan. Like it was so different. Like I was expecting when I go to Pakistan I see something like Iran, but it was totally different. It wasn't same at all. It wasn't like the roads and everything. Like um everything was dangerous, to be honest. Like not in a terrorist thing. No, no, no. I mean the roads and people, they were so friendly and so uh, hospitable, I would say. And yeah, it was eye-opening. I really enjoyed my trip. And Kalash people, they were so friendly too. And Kalash Valley is the only part of Pakistan you are legally allowed to drink alcohol. They make their own wine, and they have a really special costume they wear all the time. And the Kalash culture also is so unique. Like female and male, they have the same right and equality. And like they the way they divorce and they get married is so interesting. Like in the festival, like when they are dancing all together, they just give something to the man give something to the female, like to show the love, and they can just accept it or not. And the divorce is so easy. Like they can divorce like without any process, and they can say that we don't want to be with each other. Is in a country like Pakistan, this kind of thing is so unique, because you know that the Pakistan is so conservative, is so traditional. Like this kind of thing doesn't happen easily.
And talk about the process of going there and making a documentary, how you're doing it, how you're getting permission, how you're working with the people to create this.
Basically, because documentary was for YouTube, I didn't need like any kind of permission, because I didn't have a crew. I usually travel with my husband, and we went together. But just the visa, we were so lucky that when we applied, when we wanted to go, actually, Pakistani government just introduced the new e-visa, and we were one of the very few one to get that. And the visa process was kind of easy, but still the website wasn't working. It was a bit stressful because the website wasn't working, and we had to contact the embassy. But they were so helpful, and they helped us, and we got the visa. And we went with the tour guide. We hired a tour guide and the car, because we were not familiar with the area, and everyone told us it's better to go with the tour guide, especially because some of the area we were not sure if it's safe or not. It's still like if you want to go to Pakistan in general is safe, but some part of Pakistan might not be safe, and if you are not local, you don't know. That's why it's better to go with the tour guide. Like in some part, they stop us, and they said police stop us and said, "No, we need to escort you." But then they said, "No, you can't go." That's what I'm talking about. Like met Australian tourist, and he wanted to go to hike and camp in a mountain. Police didn't let him because it's not safe in that mountain near Kalash Valley. That's why I'm saying that if you want to go to Pakistan, especially in a remote area, if you want to go to the cities, it's fine. But if you want to go to remote areas, it's better to be with the local guide.
And how about the Swat Valley? Your experience there?
Swat Valley, like we passed the first when we went, but on the way back we stopped in Takhtabai. Is I think it's the temple, like Buddhism temple. Yes, like that area is a bit different, like because it was controlled by Pakistan till 2009, and now it's okay to go there and safe to go there. And we stayed in a hotel in Swat. It was I can't remember the name of the hotel, but it was like 5-star hotel. But you could see like the hotel had the armed guard, and even like going, they checked everything to go to the hotel, and the security was so high. And yeah, it was like quite different, very different. So at Valley, still you could feel the tents.
Wow, fantastic! And I'm thinking it seems like a good way to grow your YouTube audience is to post videos about Pakistan. It seems to incredible
I didn't expect that. Seriously, I didn't expect that. Like the first video I made went kind of viral the first days. Like when I posted, like it was kind of the trailer about my series, but suddenly I was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" Just like, woo. It was good it was a boost for my YouTube channel.
And Mike is asking, and you've got a video walking to the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. Have you traveled to Afghanistan?
No, not yet. No.
Oh, I guess is that.
I always wanted to travel to Afghanistan. Actually, when I was in Iran, I went to the border as I explained, but I never went to Afghanistan.
I see. It'll have to come up in the future. And I'm curious about YouTube and your business. You've got an active blog. You've got, it seems like the secret of YouTube clicks is Pakistan videos now accidentally. Tell us about what you do.
I've been journalist all my life, and also when I moved to the UK, I continued to be a journalist, and I was a reporter till end of February. I quit my job, like reporter on the TV. I quit my job because I had a travel plan to go to Australia for 3 months, and the coronavirus happened. And it ruined all of my plan thanks to Corona. And yes, and my YouTube channel was going, apart from the Pakistan video, all other videos based on SEO and everything, they were getting a lot of view, but Corona also affected that. And also my blog view went down. But they're recovering again. But yeah, anyway, that for now, I'm not planning to go to any media, to work for any media. I'm building my own brand and my business based on YouTube, blog, and also selling photos or videos. And writing a book. I'm trying to write a book. I'm working on a book actually. We did a cycling trip, like me and my husband, we cycled 6 countries for a charity, and I'm writing a book about that one. Yes, is for now I'm doing that. And yes, I don't have any plan to go to work for any media right now. I'm continuing to be journalist, but for myself, not for any media.
For young people that want to get into journalism, I mean, it's changed so drastically in terms of the opportunities out there. Do you have any magic advice for somebody who's not planning to get back into it anytime soon?
To media?
Yeah.
I would advise every young people like news is interesting. It's so exciting when you are in news. You think, oh my god, every day you have something to cover, and but it can be depressing too. Just get ready for that. Because you always in media usually you say that bad news is a good news. Like sometimes when something crash, you say how many people died. Okay, this is not the news if there are just two people. Like you should just be aware about that. And yeah, there are other aspects of news you can just pick up, like going to science, health, or other things that they are more interesting, less depressing, and you can learn a lot.
Oh, fantastic! And you've pivoted your content, so your YouTube channel, you've added what about productivity, working from home. So talk about adapting and figuring out ways to be productive and build your business during this travel downtime.
Yes, this is, I don't know when, I think we Iranians, because especially our generation, we learned to be flexible and learn to be adapted with any kind of situation. Like I grew up when there was a war in Iran, and then after the war, there were a lot of protests in Iran. You know, a lot of conflicts and everything affected our life. Like that's why we learn to be flexible to survive and grow. And when coronavirus happened, I saw like many of my friends, especially like Europeans friends or American friends, they were so desperate. And I was like, no, I was just trying to help and like not help them, motivate them. And also I try to help myself as well, because it's not easy. Like, as I said, I quit my job, travel, and everything changed. Yeah, I try to find a new way. Like I said, this is the reality now. I am stuck at home. I can't travel, and I don't know till when. That's why I had a plan to write a book. Okay, this is a perfect time to start a book, and this is the perfect time to create some video just from home, like work on some articles that you always wanted to write and you didn't have time. And I started to do that, and actually they paid off. Right now my traffic is again going back, and those articles I wrote during the lockdown, they are picking up, and I'm glad. And as I said, I kind of wrote the basic of my book, and I need just to write another chapter. And that's the way I see the life, because always life have something and throw something at you. That's always.
And how did you motivate your European and UK friends that were not having this wonderful perspective?
One of the videos I made is the word is upside down. I recommend if you are down, just go and watch that one. And yes, it's like I was saying that, you know, this is, I know the world now is like this. I know it's terrible, but you know, nothing lasts long. Nothing lasts forever, and this one won't last forever either. And still I'm saying that, you know, no matter how the situation can go bad, but never last, like same as anything else.
Oh, fantastic. It's a wonderful message, and I've shared the video in the show notes. So how are you planning the next, we'll say, the next 18 months, the rest of the year through 2021?
It's really hard right now to plan anything for future, because we don't know, everything can change. Like for example, when we were checking, we didn't have any plan to travel, but when I saw like Iceland reopen the borders, and like UK's advice was changing, and I was like, okay, let's go to Iceland and have a road trip. And our return flight canceled, and we said, okay, let's add few days and stay in Iceland. And then right now I'm in Italy, and we are just with Iranian and his family, they are here. And we just, because we were so lonely in London. And yeah, I'm just going with the flow. For now, I don't have a solid plan. But in general, I'm trying to create content more about adventure and unique places. And yes, this is in general plan creating content and building my brand. But about the details and the path or, or my road can change all the time. But my goal is obvious, is there.
Wonderful. And what a beautiful way to close. Thank you for inspiring us. We look forward to so much more on this path, and as well encouraging us to see the upside down and right side up, the smile you have with it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and thanks for your time.
Bye. Good night, everyone.